Before we dive in, please remember that this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor or a career counselor. The information provided is based on industry research and experience, but you should always conduct your own research and consult with professionals before making any career or financial decisions. Your success will ultimately depend on your own effort, dedication, and the specific circumstances of your job market. Are you tired of your job? I mean, really truly tired of it. Tired of staring at a clock that seems to be moving backward. Tired of that feeling in the pit of your stomach on Sunday night. Tired of knowing that 5 years from now, you'll likely be in the exact same spot, maybe with a tiny cost of living raise, doing the same repetitive tasks with no real future. What if I told you there's a hidden door? A career path that's sitting right in the middle of the most explosive, stable, and fastest growing industry in the United States. A career that doesn't require a 4-year degree, doesn't require you to go into crippling student loan debt, and absolutely does not require you to deal with blood, needles, or medical emergencies. This is a career you can train for in months, not years. A career that offers the potential to work from home, earn a professional salary with benefits, and have a clear path for advancement. You've probably never even considered it. Because when most people think of a career in healthcare, they think of doctors, nurses, surgeons. They think of a decade of school, insane hours, and life or death pressure. But that's just the clinical side. It's the tip of the iceberg. The American healthcare industry is a $4.5 trillion behemoth. That's trillion with a T. It's an economic engine, and like any engine, it has countless essential parts that keep it running. And the part that handles the money, the part that makes sure all those trillions of dollars get to the right place so that hospitals can keep their lights on and doctors can get paid, that's where you come in. Welcome to the world of medical billing. Specifically, the world of the certified professional biller. This isn't just data entry. This is not some low-level clerical job. A professional biller is a financial detective for the healthcare industry. They are the specialists who understand the complex language of medical services and translate it into the language of money. They are the guardians of a clinic's revenue cycle. Without skilled billers, the entire system grinds to a halt. Doctors don't get paid. Hospitals can't buy new equipment. The whole system collapses. That's how essential this role is. And because it's so essential, it is in constant massive demand. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that jobs in this field are growing much faster than the average for all other occupations. Why? Because as long as people get sick, need checkups, and have babies, the healthcare industry will exist and grow. It is one of the most recession-proof fields you can possibly enter. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Healthcare? That sounds complicated. I don't have a medical background. Great. You don't need one. You're not diagnosing patients. You're managing the financial data associated with their visit. We'll teach you everything you need to know from the ground up. Or maybe you're thinking, billing? That sounds like a lot of math. I'm not a numbers person. Let me stop you right there. If you can use a calculator on your phone, you have all the math skills you need. This job is about attention to detail and understanding a process, not about complex calculus. It's a logic puzzle, and it's incredibly satisfying when you solve it. Perhaps the biggest hesitation is the thought of going back to school. The time, the cost, the commitment. This is the best part. You don't need a 4-year university degree. You don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars. You can get the training and the official certification, the Certified Professional Biller or CPB credential, in a matter of months, often through flexible online programs that you can complete while you're still at your current job. Think about that. Less than a year from now, you could be starting a brand new professional career, leaving that dead-end job in the rearview mirror for good. So what does this career actually look like? Imagine a job where you have a tangible, valuable skill. A skill that is in demand in every single city and state in America. Imagine having the flexibility to work in a hospital, a small doctor's office, a specialized clinic, or even for a third-party billing company. And yes, the holy grail for so many people, the potential to work entirely from home. Remote medical billing jobs have exploded in recent years, giving you the freedom to build a professional career without the soul-crushing commute. We're talking about a stable, respectable career with a solid starting salary that grows with your experience. You can advance to become a lead biller, a coding and billing manager, a compliance auditor, or even start your own billing company. The ladder is there if you want to climb it. Over the next 10 parts of this series, I am going to give you the complete roadmap. This isn't going to be a vague overview. This is a step-by-step blueprint to launch your career as a certified professional biller in the United States. We're going to break down exactly what a biller does day to day, minute by minute. We'll explore the different types of billing, from physician offices to hospital facilities, and help you figure out which path is right for you. I will walk you through the most respected and recognized certification in the industry, the CPB, and show you exactly what's on the exam and how to prepare for it. We'll cover how to choose the right training program and avoid the scams. We'll even dive into how to write the perfect resume when you have no experience, how to ace your interviews, and where to find the best entry-level jobs, including those coveted remote positions. This series is your all-access pass. My goal is to take you from "I'm curious about this" to "I have a plan, I know the steps, and I'm ready to start." We're going to demystify the entire process. No gatekeeping, no fluff. Just the practical, actionable information you need to make a life-changing career move. The opportunity is massive, but most people don't even know it exists. They're stuck in retail, food service, or administrative jobs with no future. While right next door, a multi-trillion-dollar industry is practically begging for people with this specific skill set. You now know the door is there. In this series, I'm going to hand you the key and show you how to open it. So, are you ready to stop feeling stuck? Are you ready to build a real career with a real future? Let's get started. Okay, let's pull back the curtain on the entire healthcare industry. To understand the power of a certified professional biller, you first need to understand the journey of a single dollar. Imagine this. You wake up one morning with a sore throat. It's annoying, persistent, so you make an appointment and go to the doctor. The doctor takes a look, runs a quick strep test, confirms it's just a minor infection, and writes you a prescription for an antibiotic. You pick it up from the pharmacy, take it for a few days, and you feel better. The end, right? Not even close. For you, the patient, the story is over. But for the doctor's office, the story has just begun. That 10-minute visit, that simple strep test, and that prescription set off a complex chain reaction behind the scenes. This is where the magic and the money happens. The doctor's office can't just send a bill to your insurance company that says, "One sore throat visit, $50. Doesn't work that way. The entire encounter has to be translated into a universal language of codes. Think of it like this: your doctor speaks English, but the insurance company only speaks in numbers. Someone needs to be the translator. That's where the process starts, usually with a medical coder. They look at the doctor's notes and convert everything into specific codes. There's a code for the diagnosis, strep throat, and a code for the procedure, the office visit, and the lab test. Now, here's the single most important distinction you need to understand, the one that confuses almost everyone starting out. Medical billing and medical coding are not the same thing. They are two different sides of the same coin. They work together, but they are separate careers. The coder is the translator. They take the story of your visit and turn it into a set of standardized codes. The biller is the financial strategist. They take those codes and use them to build a claim, which is essentially a detailed invoice, and then they manage that claim's entire life cycle until the doctor gets paid. So the coder hands over the codes. Now the certified professional biller steps in. This is your role. You are the gatekeeper of the revenue. First, you don't just blindly accept the codes. You review them. Does this make sense? Does the diagnosis code justify the procedure code? You're the first line of defense against errors that could get the entire claim denied. You then take this coded information and combine it with the patient's information, their name, their insurance policy number, their group number, and you create the formal claim. Think of yourself as a financial detective preparing a case file. Every single detail has to be perfect. One wrong digit in a policy number? Denied. A misspelled name? Denied. The wrong date of service? Denied. Insurance companies are looking for any reason to reject a claim, and your job is to build an ironclad case that gives them no reason to say no. Once you've built this perfect claim, you send it off electronically to the insurance company. This is called submitting a claim. But your job isn't done. In fact, it's just getting started. You don't just fire and forget. You track that claim like a hawk. You monitor its status. Did the insurance company receive it? Is it being processed? Or did it get rejected for some reason? This is where the real skill of a biller comes into play. A huge percentage of claims are initially rejected or denied. A rookie might see a denial and give up. A professional biller sees a denial as a puzzle to be solved. You become a detective again. You look at the denial reason. Was it a simple data entry error? Did the patient's coverage lapse? Does the policy not cover this specific procedure? You investigate. You might have to call the insurance company and wait on hold for 45 minutes to argue with an agent about a coverage clause. You might have to contact the patient to get updated insurance information. You might have to go back to the coder or even the doctor to get more documentation to prove the service was medically necessary. You are the advocate. You fight for that claim. You resubmit it with corrections. You appeal the denial if you have to. You are persistent, you are detail-oriented, and you do not take no for an answer. Because every claim you successfully get paid is money that keeps the lights on at that doctor's office. It's the money that pays the nurses' salaries, buys new equipment, and ultimately allows the doctor to keep treating patients. When the insurance company finally approves the claim and sends a payment, the journey still isn't over. They send a payment, but it's often not for the full amount. They'll pay their portion based on the patient's plan. The rest is the patient's responsibility, their copay, their deductible, their coinsurance. Your job is to accurately record, or post, the payment from the insurance company into the billing software. Then you have to create a statement to bill the patient for the remaining balance. And if the patient doesn't pay, you then have to manage the collections process, sending reminders and making phone calls. So let's recap what you, the biller, actually do. You're a quality controller, checking the initial codes. You're an administrator, creating a flawless claim. You're a technician, submitting the claim electronically. You're a tracker, monitoring the claim's progress. You're a detective, investigating denials. You're a negotiator, fighting with insurance companies. And you're an accountant, posting payments and billing patients. This entire process, from the moment you see the doctor to the moment the doctor's office receives the final payment, is called the Revenue Cycle Management, or RCM. And the certified professional biller is the engine that drives that entire cycle. Without you, the system grinds to a halt. Doctors provide life-saving care, but they can't do it for free. The money doesn't just magically appear in their bank account. It flows through the hands of a skilled, professional biller who understands the intricate dance between patient care and financial reality. This is why you are so valuable. You're not just a data entry clerk. You are a specialist in a complex and non-negotiable part of the multi-trillion-dollar U.S. healthcare industry. Every single hospital, every doctor's office, every clinic, every physical therapist, every chiropractor in the country relies on this process to survive. They are legally and financially required to do it correctly. And most of them need an expert to manage it. That expert is the CPB. The role requires a unique blend of skills. You need to be meticulously organized. You need to be a problem solver who enjoys untangling complex knots. You need to have strong communication skills because you'll be talking to patients, doctors, and insurance agents. And you need a certain level of resilience, a bulldog determination to see a claim through to the very end. It's a career built on a foundation of specialized knowledge. You can't just guess your way through it. You have to know the rules. You have to know the laws like HIPAA, which governs patient privacy. You have to understand the different types of insurance plans, HMOs, PPOs, Medicare, Medicaid, and how each one has its own unique set of rules and regulations. It's like learning the rulebook for a dozen different games at once, and knowing which one you're playing at any given moment. But don't let that intimidate you. It's a learnable system. It's a puzzle, and like any puzzle, once you understand the logic behind it, the pieces start to fit together. The first and most critical piece of that puzzle, the absolute foundation of everything else, is learning to understand the language of the claim itself. And that language begins with the codes. Before you can manage a claim, you have to know what it's actually saying. How do you learn to read a story written entirely in numbers and letters? That's exactly what we're breaking down next. Think of it like being a detective arriving at a scene. Before you can solve the case, you have to understand what happened. You have to gather the facts, interpret the evidence, and piece together the story. In medical billing, the patient's chart is your crime scene, and the codes are your evidence. They are the universal language used to tell the story of the patient's encounter with the healthcare system. And it's not just one language. It's more like three distinct, but related, dialects that every professional biller must master. These are the three core code sets that form the foundation of every single medical claim in the United States. They are ICD-10-CM CPT and HCPCS Level 2. That might sound like a random soup of letters and numbers, but I promise you there's a simple, elegant logic to it. Each code set answers a fundamental question. Together, they paint a complete, undeniable picture of the patient's visit. Let's start with the first and most important question: why? Why did the patient seek medical care in the first place? The answer to this question is found in the ICD-10-CM code set. The ICD stands for International Classification of Diseases. The 10 means it's the 10th revision. This system is constantly being updated to keep up with modern medicine. The CM stands for Clinical Modification, which is the specific version used in the US for diagnosing patients in all healthcare settings. So ICD-10-CM codes are diagnosis codes. They explain the patient's symptoms, conditions, illnesses, or injuries. They are the entire reason the healthcare journey began. A claim without a diagnosis code is like a story without a plot. It's just a list of events with no context, and no insurance company will ever pay for it. Let's make this real. Imagine a 10-year-old kid, let's call him Leo, is riding his new skateboard. He hits a crack in the sidewalk, goes flying, and lands hard on his outstretched arm. He's in a lot of pain, his arm looks crooked, so his mom rushes him to an urgent care clinic. The doctor examines him, suspects a fracture, and orders an X-ray. The X-ray confirms it. Leo has a non-displaced fracture of the radial styloid process in his right arm. That's a very specific spot on the big bone in the forearm right near the wrist. Now, as a biller, you can't just write broken arm on the claim form. That's not specific enough. The insurance company needs to know exactly what was wrong to justify the services provided. This is where you, the detective, look at the doctor's notes and translate non-displaced fracture of the right radial styloid process into the language of ICD-10-CM. The code for this specific injury is S52.511A. Let's break that down because it's not just random. Each character tells part of the story. The S section of ICD-10 is for injuries. The 52-foot specifies an injury to the forearm. The .511 gets even more granular, pinpointing that specific part of the radius bone on the right side. This level of detail is critical. A code for the left arm wouldn't be accurate, and the claim would be denied. But what about that at the end? This is where the system gets really smart. The I stands for Initial Encounter. It tells the insurance company that this is the very first time Leo is being seen and treated for this specific fracture. When Leo comes back in a few weeks for a follow-up to check on his healing, the code might change to S52.511D, where D means subsequent encounter. And if he were to have complications later on, it might end in an S for sequela. See how much story is packed into that one little code? It tells us the what, the where, and the when of the injury. Mastering ICD-10-CM is about learning to read the patient's story and find the one single code, out of over 70,000 possibilities, that tells it with perfect accuracy. This is the foundation of the claim. It's the why. Okay, so we've established why Leo was at the clinic. He had a broken arm, code S52.511A. Now we need to answer the second major question. What? What did the medical team actually do for him? This is where our second language comes in, the CPT codes. CPT stands for Current Procedural Terminology. These are the codes for the services rendered, the procedures and actions performed by the healthcare providers. If ICD-10 is the noun, CPT is the verb. It's the action part of the story. The CPT code set is owned and maintained by the American Medical Association, and it's the universal standard in the US for reporting what you did. Every single action, from a simple office visit to a complex open-heart surgery, has a corresponding 5-digit CPT code. Let's go back to Leo's visit. What happened? First, he had an evaluation by the doctor. The doctor talked to him and his mom, examined his arm, and made a decision about his care. This is called an evaluation and management, or E&M service. Based on the complexity of the visit, the biller would assign a code, maybe 99203, which represents a new patient office visit of moderate complexity. Next, the doctor ordered an X-ray. The radiology technician performed a 2-view X-ray of Leo's right forearm. That's a procedure. The biller would find the CPT code for that, which is 73,090. Then, after seeing the fracture on the X-ray, the doctor performed a procedure to fix it. He realigned the bone and put Leo's arm in a cast. This is called closed treatment of a radial styloid process fracture without manipulation. It's a specific action, and it has a specific CPT code, 25600. Notice how each step of the visit is captured. The biller's job is to meticulously review the doctor's documentation and make sure every single billable service is coded. If you miss one, the clinic doesn't get paid for the work they did. If you add one that wasn't performed, that's fraud. Accuracy is everything. So now our story is getting much more detailed. We know why Leo was there, ICD-10 code S52.511A, and we know what the clinic did for him, CPT codes 99203, 73090, and 25,600. But we're still missing one piece of the puzzle. We've covered the diagnosis and the doctor's actions. But what about the stuff? The physical items, supplies, and other services that aren't covered by a CPT code? This brings us to our third and final language, HCPCS Level 2. HCPCS, pronounced HCPCS, stands for the Healthcare Common Procedure Coding System. Now you might be thinking, wait, didn't we just cover procedure codes with CPT? Yes, and it's a bit confusing. CPT is actually considered level 1 of the HCPCS system, but when people in the industry say HCPCS, they're almost always referring to HCPCS Level 2. These codes are for everything else. They cover supplies, durable medical equipment, ambulance services, drugs administered in the office, and even things like prosthetics. These codes start with a letter followed by 4 numbers. So, for Leo's visit, what supplies were used? The doctor put his arm in a cast. The fiberglass material used to make that short arm cast has a HCPCS Level 2 code. That code is Q4010. Cast supplies, short arm cast, adult or pediatric. The clinic also gave Leo a sling to support his arm. That sling is a piece of durable medical equipment, and its code is A4565. Without these HCPCS codes, the clinic would have to eat the cost of the cast material in the sling. By adding Q4010 and A4565 to the claim, the biller ensures the clinic is reimbursed for the supplies they provided, not just the time and skill of their staff. So let's put it all together. Let's look at the complete story of Leo's visit, told through the language of codes. The diagnosis code, the YINCMS 52.511A. The procedure codes, the what, CPT 99203, 73090, and 25,600. The supply codes, the with what, HCPCS Level 2 Q4010 and A4565. This collection of codes tells a complete, unambiguous story to the insurance company. It says, a patient came to us for the first time with a non-displaced fracture of his right radial styloid process. Our physician performed a moderately complex evaluation, took a 2-view X-ray, and set the fracture without surgery. We used fiberglass material to apply a short arm cast and provided the patient with a sling. Every single one of those codes is essential. Together, they justify the cost of the visit and are the key to getting the claim paid correctly and quickly. Professional biller is, in essence, a professional storyteller. You take the messy human details of a medical chart and translate them into this precise, universal language. Learning these 3 code sets is the most fundamental technical skill you will develop as a biller. It's how you read the medical record. But knowing the codes is only half the battle. Once you've translated the story, you have to write it down in a way the insurance company can process. You can't just send them a list of codes on a napkin. You have to put them in the right boxes in the right order on a very specific standardized form. This form is the universal canvas for your story, the official document of the entire healthcare industry. Mastering it is the next critical step in your journey. This form has a name. To a professional biller, it's as fundamental as a hammer is to a carpenter. It's called the CMS 1500. That's CMS, for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, 1500. This is the red ink on white paper document you'll see in textbooks and training manuals. It's the physical blueprint. But in the real world, you'll almost never touch the paper version. Instead, you'll master its digital twin, the electronic 837P transaction. The layout is the same, the fields are the same, the rules are the same. Whether it's ink on paper or pixels on a screen, this form is the universal language of professional medical claims in the United States. And your job is to become a fluent master translator. Think of the CMS 1500 form as being split into 2 distinct halves, like the 2 acts of a play. The top half, roughly boxes 1 through 13, is all about the patient and the insured party. This is the who of our story. It establishes the characters. The bottom half, from box 14 down, is about the provider and the services rendered. This is the what, when, where, and why. It's the plot, the action, the justification for everything. Get the who wrong and the what doesn't matter. Get the what wrong, and the who doesn't get their bills paid. Both halves must be perfect and in perfect harmony. Let's start at the top. The patient and insured information. This seems simple, right? Just copy the information from the patient's chart. But this is where over 90% of all rejected claims are born, not from complex coding, but from simple, devastating typos and clerical errors. A single wrong digit in a birth date, a misspelled name, An outdated address. These are the grains of sand that can bring the entire machine to a halt. Box 1 tells the payer what kind of insurance we're dealing with. Is it Medicare? Medicaid? A commercial carrier like Blue Cross? This single checkbox sets the stage and tells the payer which set of rules to apply to your claim. Box 2 is the patient's name. It must match character for character what the insurance company has on file. Not Bill if their card says William. Not Liz if it says Elizabeth. You are a detective, and your first clue is the patient's insurance card. It is your source of truth. Then you have boxes 4, 7, and 11, which create a critical triangle of information. Box 4 is the insured's name. This is crucial. Is the patient the one who holds the insurance policy, or are they a dependent like a child or a spouse? If a child, Michael, comes in for a visit, but the insurance is under his mother, Sarah, then Michael's name goes in box 2, and Sarah's name goes in box 4. Mixing this up is an instant denial. Box 7 is the insured's address, and box 11 is the insured's policy or group number. This sequence of numbers and letters is the unique key that unlocks the patient's benefits. One wrong digit, one transposed letter, and to the insurance company, this person simply does not exist. Your claim is not just denied, it's rejected outright, sent back to you as if it were addressed to a phantom. Every box in this top section is a potential landmine. Your job is to verify, and verify again. You are the guardian of data integrity. Now let's move to the second act of our play, the bottom half of the form. This is where you, the biller, truly shine. This is where you take those CPT and ICD-10 codes, the language of medicine you've learned, and you weave them into a compelling, undeniable financial story. It starts with boxes like 14, the date of injury, or 17, the name of the referring provider. These add context. But the real heart of the claim, the part where every payer's computer system zooms in with microscopic scrutiny, is box 21 and box 24. These two boxes work together. They are the cause and effect, the question and the answer. Box 21 is for the diagnosis codes. This is the why. Using the ICD-10 codes we talked about, you list, in order of importance, the reasons the patient sought care. M54.5 for low back pain. J02.9 for an acute sore throat. R07.9 for chest pain. This isn't just a list. It's the medical justification for every single thing that follows. Without a valid diagnosis, there can be no valid service. And that brings us to the main event. Box 24. This is a grid with multiple lines, labeled A through J. Each horizontal line represents a single service or procedure performed. This is where you tell the insurance company exactly what the doctor did, when they did it, where they did it, and how much it costs. Let's break it down. 24A is the date of service. Simple but critical. 24B is the place of service. This is a 2-digit code that tells the payer where the encounter happened. Was it in the doctor's office? That's code 11. Was it in the emergency room? Code 23. An outpatient hospital? Code 22. This little code has huge implications for how the claim gets paid. Then we have 24D, the Holy Grail. Procedures, services, or supplies. This is where your CPT code lives. That 99213 for an office visit goes right here. That 71046 for a 2-view chest x-ray goes here. This column is the what. It's the action. But sometimes the code itself isn't enough. Sometimes you need to add a detail, an adjective. For that, you use a 2-digit modifier. For example, if a surgeon had to perform a procedure on the right side of the body, you'd add the modifier RT. If a procedure was unusually difficult and took extra time, you might add modifier 22. Modifiers are your way of adding crucial nuance to the story, turning a black and white statement into a high-definition picture. Next, and this is perhaps the most important and most misunderstood part of the entire form, is 24E, the diagnosis pointer. This tiny box is the storyteller's thread. It connects the why from box 21 to the what in box 24D. Remember those diagnosis codes you listed in box 21? They are assigned letters, A, B, C, and so on. In box 24E, you simply put the letter of the diagnosis that justifies the procedure on that line. So if the doctor performed an X-ray, the what? Because of the patient's chest pain, the why? You would point the X-ray service to the chest pain diagnosis code. This concept is called medical necessity. You are explicitly telling the insurance company, we did this because of that. A missing or incorrect pointer is one of the fastest ways to get a denial for lack of medical necessity. The payer's computer will see a procedure with no justification and automatically kick it out. Finally, you have 24F, the charges, where you list the fee for that specific service. 24G, the number of units. And 24J, the rendering provider's NPI number, the unique national identifier for the healthcare provider who actually performed the service. When you step back, you see it. The CMS 1500 form is not a form at all. It's a perfect, self-contained narrative. The top half introduces the characters. The bottom half details the plot. Box 21 provides the motivation, the diagnosis. Box 24 describes the action, the procedure. And Box 24E provides the crucial link that proves the action was justified by the motivation. Every field supports every other field. It's an intricate web of data, and you are the architect. Each claim you build is a testament to your precision, your knowledge, and your attention to detail. It is a legal and financial document that tells a complete story of a single moment in a person's healthcare journey. You've crafted the perfect story, checked it twice, ensuring every name is spelled correctly, every number is in its place, and every service is medically justified and perfectly coded. But writing it is only half the battle. Now you have to send it on its perilous journey to the one who holds the purse strings, the insurance payer. And that journey is a digital gauntlet filled with automated gatekeepers, complex algorithms, and strict deadlines. A world where your perfectly crafted claim will be judged in milliseconds. To the one who holds the purse strings, the insurance payer. And that journey is a digital gauntlet filled with automated gatekeepers, complex algorithms, and strict deadlines. A world where your perfectly crafted claim will be judged in milliseconds. Before your claim can even face that final judgment, it must first pass through a critical checkpoint, a digital proving ground known as a clearinghouse. Think of a clearinghouse as the ultimate quality control inspector. It's a third-party company that acts as a secure bridge between the healthcare provider and the thousands of different insurance payers. Sending a claim directly to a payer is like trying to navigate 1,000 different country-specific customs offices, each with its own unique forms and languages. The clearinghouse is the universal translator and logistics expert that standardizes the whole process. But its most important job is to scrub your claim. This isn't about soap and water. It's a brutal automated audit. The clearinghouse software scans every single field on your claim form with lightning speed, comparing it against a massive database of rules for each specific payer. It's looking for the simple, fatal flaws that would get your claim instantly rejected. Is the patient's date of birth in the correct format? Does the policy number have the right number of digits for that specific insurance plan? Is the provider's national provider identifier, their NPI, valid and present? These might sound like minor typos, but in the world of medical billing, they are deal breakers. A single missing digit in an ID number can send the entire claim into a black hole. The clearinghouse is your first line of defense. It catches these errors and sends the claim back to you, the biller, with an error report, often within minutes. It's like having a spell checker for your claim that tells you before you hit send that you've made a mistake. This is invaluable. It prevents your claim from ever reaching the payer with a foolish error, saving you days or even weeks of waiting for a rejection that could have been easily avoided. A clean claim that passes the clearinghouse scrub has a much higher chance of getting paid on the first pass. Once your claim has been scrubbed, validated, and deemed worthy, the clearinghouse securely transmits it to the correct insurance payer. Now it enters the belly of the beast, the payer's adjudication system. This is the main event. This is where the decision to pay or deny is made. It's not a person in a cubicle looking at your claim. It's a colossal, complex software system that processes millions of claims a day. This system is programmed with every rule, every policy limitation, every contract detail, and every medical necessity guideline that the insurance company has. In a matter of seconds, this system runs a series of sophisticated checks. First, it confirms eligibility. Was the patient actually covered by this insurance plan on the date the service was provided? It's a simple yes or no question, but if the patient's coverage had lapsed, even by a day, the claim stops right there. Next, it checks the provider's status. Is this doctor or hospital in network for this patient's plan? Are their credentials up to date? If the patient went to an out-of-network provider, the payment rules change dramatically, and the claim is processed accordingly. Then comes the most critical check of all, medical necessity. This is where the system analyzes the relationship between the diagnosis code, the ICD-10 code that says why the patient was seen, and the procedure code, the CPT code that says what was done. The system has complex logic, called edits, that determines if these two codes make sense together. For example, if the diagnosis is a common cold, but the procedure is the setting of a broken arm, the system will instantly flag it. It's a logical mismatch. This is why accurate coding is so non-negotiable. The story you tell with your codes must be logical, consistent, and clinically sound. The adjudication system also checks for things like bundling rules. Some procedures are considered bundled into a larger primary procedure. You can't bill for applying a simple bandage separately if you've already billed for the major surgery that required the bandage. The system knows this and will deny the smaller charge. It checks against the patient's history too. Did the patient already exceed their annual limit for physical therapy sessions? Was this procedure pre-authorized if it was required to be? After this lightning-fast, multi-point inspection, the system renders its verdict. There are 3 possible outcomes for your claim. The first and easiest to deal with is a rejection. A rejected claim is one that was never even entered into the payer system for processing. It was kicked back because of a fundamental clerical error, like a misspelled name, an incorrect policy number, or an invalid diagnosis code. A rejection is essentially the payer saying, "This form is filled out so incorrectly, we can't even begin to process it. Fix it and send it again." The second and more challenging outcome is a denial. A denied claim is very different. It means the claim was received, it was processed, but the payer has decided not to pay for it. The denial will come with a reason. Maybe they determined the service wasn't medically necessary. Maybe the patient's plan doesn't cover that specific procedure. Maybe another insurance company was supposed to be the primary payer. A denial is not a clerical error. It's a formal refusal to pay based on policy, and overcoming it requires a much more complex process called an appeal. We'll dive deep into that later. The third and best outcome, of course, is that the claim is approved for payment. Victory! But even this isn't as simple as it sounds. The payer rarely pays the full amount the doctor billed. They pay the allowed amount, a pre-negotiated rate based on the contract between the provider and the insurance company. So, how do you find out what happened? The payer doesn't just send a check and leave you guessing. They issue a crucial document that explains their decision in detail. For the provider, this is called the remittance advice, or RA. When it's sent electronically, it's an ERA, an electronic remittance advice. This is the biller's report card. It lists each service that was billed, how much the payer is paying for it, and most importantly, if there was any reduction, denial, or change, it provides a reason code explaining why. Learning to read and interpret an ERA is one of the most fundamental skills of a professional biller. It's your feedback loop. It's the game tape you study to understand why you won or lost. The patient receives a similar document in the mail, called an explanation of benefits, or EOB. It's designed to be more patient-friendly, but it contains the same core information. What was billed, what the insurance paid, and what the patient now owes. The final step in this part of the journey is payment posting. When the ERA comes in and the money is deposited, the biller's job is to post that payment to the correct patient account in the practice management software. You'll apply the payment from the insurance company, make any necessary adjustments based on the allowed amount, and then bill the patient for their remaining responsibility, like their copay, deductible, or coinsurance. This is the moment the revenue cycle for that specific claim is finally closed. It's the satisfying act of balancing the books, of taking a patient encounter that happened weeks ago and turning it into actual reconciled revenue for the provider. Every single day, you'll guide dozens, even hundreds of these claims through this digital gauntlet. You'll celebrate the clean, paid claims and meticulously analyze the rejections to fix your mistakes. But what about the claims that don't make it? The ones that are formally denied? That's where a good biller transforms into a great one. It's a world of investigation, appeals, and fighting for every dollar the provider has earned. And that's exactly where we're going next. So, what exactly is a denial? It's not just a claim that gets sent back for a typo. That's a rejection. A rejection is a quick fix. You correct the patient's date of birth, you resubmit it, and it usually sails right through. A denial is different. A denial is the insurance company formally saying, "We have processed this claim, we have reviewed it, and we are not paying for it." Full stop. This is where the real game begins. This is the moment a biller puts on their detective hat. The first clue you get is something called a denial code. Every explanation of benefits, or EOB, that comes back with a $0 payment will have one. These codes, officially known as Claim Adjustment Reason Codes, or CARCs, are the insurance company's one-sentence explanation for why they're not paying. And they can be frustratingly vague. You'll see codes like, "Service not medically necessary," or Benefit for this service is included in the payment for another service. Or the classic, prior authorization required. Your first job as the detective is to take that code and understand what it truly means. It's not a final verdict. It's the start of your investigation. Let's take one of the most common and infuriating denials: service not medically necessary. A doctor, a trained medical professional, saw a patient, evaluated their condition, and decided a specific test or procedure was necessary for their health. But an administrator at an insurance company, who has never met the patient, is claiming it wasn't. What do? You don't just sigh and write it off as a loss. A great biller goes to work. The first step is to pull up the original claim you submitted. Look at it side by side with the patient's chart. The key is in the details. You're looking for the story that the medical record tells. Did the doctor use the most specific diagnosis code possible? For example, maybe the doctor just coded for knee pain, but in their notes they documented acute medial meniscus tear of the right knee. That detail is everything. Knee pain is vague. An insurance company can argue that a simple X-ray is enough. But a medial meniscus tear is a specific, documented injury that often requires an MRI for proper diagnosis and treatment planning. The story in the notes justifies the more advanced procedure. The billing didn't. Your job is to connect the two. You become an expert in the language of medicine and the language of insurance. You have to translate the doctor's medical narrative into the cold, hard codes that the payer's computer system will understand and accept. So you've found your evidence. The doctor's notes clearly support the service that was billed. Now what? Now you build your case. This is where you transition from detective to lawyer. You are preparing an appeal. An appeal is a formal, written request to the insurance company to reconsider their decision. And this is not an angry email. It's a professional, evidence-based argument. A well-crafted appeal letter is a work of art. It's clear, concise, and impossible to ignore. It starts with the basics: patient name, date of service, claim number. Get straight to the point. You state, "We are appealing the denial of this claim, which was denied for service not medically necessary." Then you present your argument. You don't just say the doctor said it was necessary. You prove it. You write, "As you can see in the attached clinical notes from Dr. Smith, the patient presented with symptoms of the physical examination revealed. Based on these findings, an MRI was ordered to rule out a meniscal tear, which is the standard of care for this clinical presentation." And here's the killer move. You use their own rules against them. Every insurance company publishes its clinical policies online. A great biller knows how to find them. You go to the payer's website, you find their policy for MRI of the knee, and you find the exact criteria they say must be met. Then, in your appeal letter, you quote their own policy back to them. You write, "Per your own Clinical Policy Bulletin 123, an MRI is considered medically necessary when a patient presents with B and C. As Dr. Smith's notes clearly document, this patient met all three of those criteria." Checkmate. You've taken their reason for denial and systematically dismantled it, using their own logic and the provider's documentation. You attach a copy of the original claim, a copy of the denial EOB, and copies of the relevant medical records, the doctor's notes, any test results, everything that tells the story. You package it all up and send it off, formally requesting a reevaluation. This process takes time. It takes tenacity. Some claims are simple. Maybe a service was denied because it needed a specific modifier, a little two-digit code that gives the insurance company more information, and it was accidentally left off. That's an easy fix. You submit a corrected claim and you're done. But for the complex denials, the not medically necessary, or experimental procedure denials, you have to be prepared to fight. And it might not end with the first appeal. Insurance companies have multiple levels of appeals. If your first appeal is denied by another claims processor, you can often request a second-level appeal, which is typically reviewed by a licensed medical professional on their staff, like a nurse or a doctor. They have the clinical knowledge to understand the nuances of your argument. And if that fails, in many cases you have the right to an external independent review, where a third-party organization looks at the case and makes a binding decision. A great biller knows these levels exist and is persistent enough to climb the ladder when necessary. They refuse to take no for an answer when they know the provider did the work and deserves to be paid. Why is this so critical? Let's talk numbers. The average claim denial rate in the US can be anywhere from 5 to 15%. For a small practice that bills out $1 million a year, A 10% denial rate means $100,000 is in limbo. It's not in the bank. It's stuck in this appeal and resubmit cycle. If a biller can successfully appeal and recover just half of those denied claims, that's $50,000 they have personally brought back into the practice. $50,000 that pays for salaries for medical equipment, for keeping the lights on. A biller who is good at denial management isn't just a clerk. They are a direct driver of revenue. They are a vital part of the clinic's financial health. They are profit protectors. But it's not just about the money for the clinic. It's also about the patient. When an insurance company denies a claim, what do you think happens? Often, the provider is legally allowed to bill the patient for the full amount of the service. That denial letter from the insurance company can lead to a surprise $500 or even $5,000 bill in the patient's mailbox. It's stressful, it's confusing, and it can be financially devastating. When you, as the biller, fight that denial and win, you're not just securing payment for your doctor. You are shielding that patient from a massive, unexpected financial burden. You are a patient advocate. You are fighting on their behalf to make sure the insurance they pay for every single month actually comes through for them when they need it. This is the hidden, heroic side of medical billing. It's problem-solving. It's about justice. It's about ensuring fairness in a system that is incredibly complex and often feels stacked against both doctors and patients. Mastering the art of the appeal transforms you from someone who just processes claims into someone who defends them. Mastering appeals makes you a financial guardian for the practice. But what happens when the insurance company pays their portion, and the remaining balance, the copay, the deductible, the coinsurance, falls to the patient? That's a completely different kind of communication, a different kind of challenge. And that's where we'll go next. Navigating the delicate world of patient statements and collections. So, the insurance company has paid its portion. The contractual adjustments have been made. Now we're at the final mile of this financial marathon. And this last mile is often the hardest because it involves a real person with real-life concerns, looking at a bill they probably weren't expecting. This is where a good biller transforms into a great one. It's not just about numbers anymore. It's about communication, empathy, and psychology. Let's imagine a patient. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah had a minor procedure. The total charge, the sticker price, was $2,000. Her insurance processed the claim, paid $1,200, and took a contractual adjustment of $500. You, the biller, have posted all this perfectly. The math is simple. $2,000 minus $1,200 minus $500 leaves a $300 balance. That's Sarah's responsibility. It's a combination of her remaining deductible and her 20% coinsurance. On paper, it's crystal clear. But Sarah doesn't see the paper the way you do. She gets a statement in the mail from the doctor's office. It has a bunch of dates, codes, and numbers. All she sees is amount due, $300. Her first thought isn't, that must be my deductible and coinsurance. Her first thought is, wait, didn't I pay my $20 copay? I have insurance. Why are they sending me another bill for $300? Is this a mistake? This moment of confusion is the single biggest reason patient balances go unpaid. It's not usually malice, it's misunderstanding. And your first tool to combat this is the patient statement itself. A well-designed statement is your ambassador. It needs to be clean, simple, and easy to understand. It should clearly list the original charge, the amount paid by the insurance, the amount adjusted off by the practice, and then, finally, the remaining balance. Some of the best systems even provide a little note, like this balance reflects your insurance plan's deductible and/or coinsurance requirements. That one sentence can prevent dozens of confused phone calls. You'll send this first statement, and in a perfect world, Sarah understands it, writes a check, and the account is closed. But we don't live in a perfect world. Sarah's busy. The bill gets put in a pile of mail and forgotten. 30 days go by. Now what? This is where the collections process begins. And I want you to erase the stereotypical image of a collections agent from your mind. You are not a debt collector in that sense. You are a financial coordinator. You're a problem solver. Your goal is not to threaten or intimidate. It's to educate and facilitate. Your practice management software will automatically flag Sarah's account as overdue. It will likely generate a second statement, often with a gentle reminder printed on it, something like, "Our records indicate this balance is past due. If you have already sent payment, please disregard this notice." It's polite, professional, and non-confrontational. We're giving the patient the benefit of the doubt. Another 30 days pass. Still no payment. Now we're at 60 days past due. This is typically when direct communication becomes necessary. Some offices will send a more formal letter, often called a dunning letter, that more firmly states the balance is overdue and requests prompt payment or a phone call to discuss the account. The language is still professional, but the urgency is slightly elevated. But the most effective tool at this stage is the telephone. And this is where your skills will truly shine. Making a collection call is an art form. You have to be firm but kind, direct but empathetic. Let's script out that call to Sarah. You dial the number. She answers. You start with a clear, calm introduction. Hi, may I speak with Sarah? Hi Sarah, my name is your name. And I'm calling from Dr. Smith's office. I'm calling about your recent statement. I know these things can sometimes be confusing, and I just wanted to see if you had any questions about the balance. Notice the framing. You didn't say, you owe us $300 and it's 60 days late. You said, I'm here to help you understand. You've immediately disarmed her and positioned yourself as an ally, not an adversary. Sarah might be defensive. I thought my insurance covered everything. This is your moment to be the expert. You pull up her account. I can definitely see why you think that. I'm looking at the explanation of benefits from your insurance company right now. It looks like they paid $1,200 toward the service, which is great. The remaining $300 is the portion they assigned as your responsibility, based on your plan's deductible and coinsurance. Does that sound familiar from your insurance plan? You're not blaming her. You're not blaming the insurance. You are calmly stating the facts as a third-party expert. You're educating her. 9 times out of 10, this explanation clears things up. But what if Sarah says, okay, I understand, but I just can't afford to pay $300 all at once right now. This is the second critical juncture. A bad biller would say, payment is due in full. A great biller says, I completely understand. We can absolutely work with you on that. We can set up a payment plan. Would breaking it into 3 monthly payments of $100 be more manageable for you? You've just provided a solution. You've relieved her financial anxiety. You've maintained a positive relationship between the patient and the doctor's office, and you've secured payment for the practice. That is a massive win. Throughout this entire process, you must operate within a strict set of legal and ethical guidelines. The two most important are HIPAA and the FDCPA. HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, protects patient privacy. When you call Sarah, you can't leave a detailed message with her husband or on her voicemail saying, Hi, this is Dr. Smith's office calling about Sarah's $300 bill for her procedure on October 26. That's a huge violation. Your message should be simple. This is your name from Dr. Smith's office. Please give us a call back at your earliest convenience. You protect her privacy at all costs. The other set of rules comes from the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA. While this law technically applies to third-party collection agencies, most medical practices adopt its principles as a best practice to avoid any legal trouble. The rules are common sense and promote decency. You can't call a patient before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. their time. You can't call them at work if you know their employer prohibits it. You can't use harassing or abusive language. You can't make false threats like saying you'll have them arrested. You are a professional and you must always act like one. Your job is to be a persistent, polite, and helpful presence. You document every single interaction, every statement sent, every letter, every phone call. It all gets noted in the patient's account. 12/15, called Patient Sarah, explained EOB and patient responsibility. Sarah understood and agreed to a payment plan of $100 per month for 3 months, starting January 1st. This documentation creates a clear trail and protects both the practice and the patient. Now what if, after all this, the patient still refuses to pay? After 90 or 120 days of internal efforts, the practice has a decision to make. They can either write the balance off as bad debt, which means the practice takes the loss, or they can turn the account over to an external third-party collections agency. This is always a last resort. It damages the relationship with the patient, and the practice only receives a small percentage of whatever the agency manages to collect. Your job as a skilled biller is to prevent as many accounts as possible from ever reaching that point. By handling patient billing with clarity, empathy, and professionalism, you do more than just collect money. You preserve the patient-provider relationship. You reduce financial stress for patients. You become an indispensable asset to the practice, ensuring its financial health so it can continue to provide care. You've successfully navigated the complexities of insurance payments and the delicate dance of patient collections. But there's another, more frustrating scenario we have to tackle. What happens when the insurance company, for one reason or another, simply says no? When they flat out deny a claim you know should have been paid. That's when you have to put on your detective hat and your warrior armor, because you're about to enter the world of appeals. It's a battle of wits, a test of wills. And it's where a good biller transforms into an indispensable asset. The appeals process is not just about refiling a claim. It's about constructing a compelling, evidence-based argument that forces the insurance company to reverse its decision. This is where you earn your stripes. So, where does the investigation begin? It starts with the denial itself. You'll get a document called an explanation of benefits, or EOB, from the insurance company. This isn't just a piece of paper. It's your first clue. It will have a reason code, a short, often cryptic explanation for why the claim was denied. Codes like service not medically necessary, benefit maximum met, or non-covered service. Your first job as a detective is to not take this code at face value. It's the insurance company's opening statement, not the final verdict. You need to scrutinize it. Was it denied for a simple clerical error? Maybe a digit was transposed in the patient's ID number, or the date of birth was wrong. These are the easy wins. You correct the information and resubmit the claim. Case closed. But the real challenge, the real fight, begins when the denial is clinical. When they say the service provided by the doctor wasn't medically necessary. This is a direct challenge to the doctor's professional judgment. And this is where you, the biller, step into the ring as their champion. Your first move is to gather your evidence. You go back to the source, the patient's chart and the doctor's notes. You need to understand the why behind the procedure. What were the patient's symptoms? What was the diagnosis? What did the doctor document that justified this specific treatment? You're looking for the story. The patient came in with debilitating back pain, unable to work. The doctor ordered an MRI after conservative treatments failed, which revealed a herniated disc, leading to a specific type of injection for relief. You are now building a narrative. The insurance company only sees codes on a screen. You see a human being in pain and a doctor doing their job to help them. Your task is to bridge that gap. With your evidence in hand, the doctor's notes, any relevant test results, the original claim, you prepare for the first level of appeal. In the world of Medicare, this is called a redetermination. For commercial payers, it might just be called a first-level appeal. The name doesn't matter as much as the strategy. You're going to write a letter. And this isn't an angry email. It's a formal, professional, and powerful legal document. It should be structured with surgical precision. At the top, you clearly identify the patient, their policy number, the claim number in question, and the date of service. No room for confusion. Then you state your purpose clearly. This letter is a formal request for a redetermination of the denial for claim number 12345. The body of the letter is your closing argument. You don't just say, "You were wrong, pay us." You systematically dismantle their reason for denial. If they denied for medical necessity, you counter with direct quotes from the doctor's notes. You write, "The denial states this procedure was not medically necessary. However, as documented in the attached clinical notes from Dr. Smith on January 15th, the patient presented with severe radiating pain, unresponsive to physical therapy and oral anti-inflammatories. The standard of care for this diagnosis, as supported by the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, indicates that this procedure is the appropriate next step." See what happened there? You didn't just use the doctor's opinion. You referenced a higher authority, a professional medical society. You're using the system's own logic against it. You are speaking their language. You attach copies of everything. The original claim, the denial EOB, the doctor's notes, maybe even a published clinical guideline that supports your case. You package it all up and send it off, making sure you send it via a trackable method. You need proof that they received it. Now you wait. The insurance company has a set amount of time, usually 30 to 60 days, to respond. In a perfect world, they see the error of their ways, reverse the denial, and send you a check. And often, a well-written first-level appeal is all it takes. But what if they don't? What if they double down and deny the appeal? This is the moment of truth. This is where 90% of people give up. The practice might say, "Well, we tried," and write it off as a loss. But not you. A certified professional biller knows this is just round two. Because now you escalate. The second level of appeal is often called a reconsideration. This is crucial because it's supposed to be reviewed by a completely different person at the insurance company, someone who had no involvement in the first two denials. You get a fresh set of eyes. Your strategy has to evolve. You can't just resubmit the same letter. You have to strengthen your case. Did the doctor have anything to add? Maybe they can write a supplemental letter explaining in even greater detail why the procedure was absolutely critical for the patient's health. Is there a new medical study you can include? Did you find a specific clause in the patient's insurance policy that explicitly covers this service? You dig deeper. Your second-level appeal letter will reference the first denial and the first appeal denial. You're building a paper trail that shows you followed the process diligently. You state, "This is a request for a reconsideration of a claim that was denied on January 30th and whose subsequent redetermination was also denied on March 15th. You are showing them you are organized, you are persistent, and you are not going away. This process requires meticulous organization. You need a system to track every appeal, when you sent it, who you sent it to, when you can expect a response, and what the next step is if it's denied again. This isn't a chaotic flurry of paperwork. It's a managed strategic campaign. And believe it or not, it doesn't even stop there. If your second-level appeal is denied, there are further steps. For government payers like Medicare, you can escalate to an administrative law judge or ALJ hearing. This is basically a mini-court case where you or a representative from the doctor's office can present your case to a judge. Beyond that, there's the Departmental Appeals Board and even federal court review. Now, it's rare for a single claim to go that far, but the point is the system has checks and balances. A warrior biller knows these levels exist and is not intimidated by them. Your job is to fight for every dollar the doctor has rightfully earned. Think about the value this brings to a medical practice. A single complex surgical claim could be worth $5, $10, even $20,000. If a practice is writing off 5 of those a month because they don't have the expertise or the persistence to fight the denials, that's $100,000 in lost revenue. When you, as their certified biller, successfully appeal just one of those claims, you aren't just a clerk anymore. You are a profit center. You are the hero who just recovered the equivalent of a staff member's salary for the year. That is job security. That is how you become absolutely indispensable. This is the part of the job that's more art than science. It requires critical thinking, persuasive writing, and a bulldog-like tenacity. It's about understanding that no is not an answer. It's the beginning of a negotiation. You are the advocate for the provider, the guardian of their revenue, and the navigator through the treacherous waters of insurance denials. Mastering the appeals process is what separates a data entry clerk from a true billing professional. But fighting for money that's been denied is only half the battle. What about managing the money that actually comes in? And what do you do when the insurance company pays their part but the person who still owes money is the patient? That's a whole different kind of challenge requiring a whole different set of skills. This is where the job transforms. It's where you shift from being a data detective, hunting down codes and modifiers, to becoming a financial counselor, a navigator, and sometimes even a source of comfort for a patient in a vulnerable situation. Dealing with a patient's balance is one of the most delicate and important parts of your job. It's not about aggressively collecting money. It's about communication, education, and finding solutions. Let's be honest, no one is ever happy to receive a medical bill. It often arrives when they're still recovering from an illness or injury. It's filled with confusing terminology and numbers that don't always seem to add up. They've already seen the explanation of benefits, or EOB, from their insurance company, which looks like a tax document written in a foreign language. Then your bill arrives, and it might have a completely different number on it. The patient is confused, they're stressed, and they're probably a little bit scared. Your first interaction with them is critical. This is where your soft skills, your ability to listen, to explain, and to show empathy, are more valuable than any coding manual. When a patient calls, or when you call them, your goal isn't just to say, "You owe this amount." Your primary goal is to help them understand why they owe that amount. You are the bridge between the complex world of insurance adjudication and their personal financial responsibility. So, what does that conversation actually sound like? Let's walk through it. A patient, let's call her Sarah, calls your office. She sounds upset. She says, "I just got a bill from you for $500. I have insurance. My insurance is supposed to cover everything." The first thing you do is not get defensive. You don't just repeat the amount owed. You listen. You validate her frustration. You might say something like, "I understand why you're confused, Sarah. Medical bills can be really complicated. I'm happy to pull up your account and walk through this with you right now line by line, so we can figure it out together. Notice the language. Together. You've immediately repositioned yourself from an adversary to an ally. Now you pull up her account. You have the claim in front of you, you see what was billed, what the insurance allowed, what they paid, and what they assigned as patient responsibility. This is your moment to be the expert translator. You don't just say, well, your deductible wasn't met. That's jargon. Instead, you explain it in plain English. It looks like your insurance plan has what's called a deductible. Think of it like a car insurance deductible. It's the amount you have to pay for your own medical care each year before your insurance starts paying for the majority of the costs. Based on what your insurance company told us, you still had $500 of that deductible to meet for the year, which is why they've assigned that balance to you. Suddenly, it's not some arbitrary number. It's a function of her specific insurance plan. You're not blaming her. You're explaining the mechanics of her coverage. Then you can go further. You can explain the difference between a copay, that flat fee she pays for an office visit, and coinsurance, the percentage of the cost she shares with her insurance company after her deductible is met. By educating the patient, you empower them. You're turning a moment of frustration into a moment of clarity. A confused and angry patient is far less likely to pay than a patient who understands the bill. But what if understanding isn't the problem? What if the problem is purely financial? This is the most common and most challenging scenario. Sarah understands the bill now, but she says, I get it, but I can't pay $500 right now. I lost shifts at work because of my surgery. I just don't have it. This is the crossroads that separates an average biller from a great one. The average biller might say, well, the bill is due in 30 days. The great biller sees this as an opportunity to find a solution. This is where you become a financial problem solver. Your first tool is the payment plan. Almost every medical practice offers them. You can say, I completely understand that $500 is a lot to pay at once. We can absolutely set you up on a payment plan to make it more manageable. Would paying $100 a month for 5 months work for you? Or even $50 a month for 10 months? We can be flexible to find a payment amount that fits your budget. This is a lifeline. You've just offered a concrete, manageable solution instead of a rigid demand. You've shown that your organization is willing to work with her, not against her. The key is to be collaborative. Ask her what she can afford. When a patient has a say in their own payment plan, they are exponentially more likely to stick to it. But what if even a small monthly payment is too much? What if the patient is facing true financial hardship? This is where your knowledge of your practice's policies becomes crucial. Many larger healthcare systems and even smaller clinics have financial assistance programs or charity care policies. It's your job to know about these and to be able to direct patients to them. You might say, we do have a financial hardship application. It's a form where you provide some information about your income and expenses, and our review team may be able to reduce your balance or, in some cases, forgive it entirely. Would you like me to send you that application? You have just offered a path forward where one seemed impossible. You have provided hope. This isn't just good customer service. It's a vital function of a compassionate healthcare system. And from a business perspective, it's often better to get a patient into a hardship program and have a portion of the bill written off as charity care than to send them to a third-party collections agency, where the practice will only receive pennies on the dollar and the patient's credit will be damaged. It's a win-win. Throughout every single one of these conversations, documentation is your best friend. Every call, every promise, every agreed-upon payment plan needs to be meticulously noted in the patient's account. If you agreed to a $50 a month plan starting on the 15th, write it down. If you sent a financial hardship application, note the date. This creates a clear history of your efforts to help the patient and protects both them and the practice from future misunderstandings. This part of the job requires a unique kind of resilience. You will talk to people who are angry, who are crying, who are scared. You have to be able to listen to their stories without taking their frustration personally. You have to remain calm, professional, and focused on the goal, finding a mutually agreeable solution. It's emotionally demanding work, but it is also incredibly rewarding. When you successfully help a patient understand their bill, set up a payment plan they can afford, or connect them with financial aid that lifts a massive weight off their shoulders, you've done more than just collect a balance. You've become a positive touchpoint in their healthcare journey. You've upheld the integrity and compassion of the medical practice you work for. Mastering this human side of medical billing. The art of communication, empathy, and problem solving is what truly elevates your career. The technical skills get you in the door, but the people skills are what make you indispensable. You've learned how to analyze a claim, how to fight a denial with an insurance giant, and now how to compassionately manage the final and most personal piece of the financial puzzle, the patient's own responsibility. You now possess the complete toolkit of a certified professional biller. You understand the entire life cycle of a claim, from the moment a patient walks in the door to the moment the account balance hits zero. So you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you get the certification. But where do you go from here? What does the career path actually look like? How do you leverage this expertise to not just get a job, but to build a thriving long-term career with real opportunities for growth, leadership, and even entrepreneurship? That is the final crucial step. This final step is about transforming that certification into a career trajectory. It's about seeing the CPB not as a finish line, but as a meticulously engineered launchpad. So let's map out the journey, from your very first day to the moment you're running the show. Your first objective is simple: get your foot in the door. With your new CPB certification, you are instantly more valuable than a candidate without one. But you need to be strategic. Your resume is no longer just a list of past jobs. It's a marketing document for your new skills. The top of that resume, right under your name, should proudly display Certified Professional Biller, CPB. In your skills section, you're not just saying detail-oriented. You're listing proficient in ICD-10-CM, CPT, and HCPCS Level 2 coding systems, expertise in claim submission and denial management, deep understanding of healthcare compliance and HIPAA regulations. You're speaking the language of the industry before you've even clocked in. Where do you apply? Cast a wide net, but a smart one. Look at hospitals, large physician groups, and specialized clinics like dermatology, cardiology, or orthopedics. But don't forget the hidden gems, third-party billing companies. These companies are a fantastic place to start, because you get exposed to multiple specialties and software systems in a very short amount of time. It's like a career accelerator. Also, look at insurance companies for roles like claims analyst or processor. Working on the payer side gives you an incredible perspective that will make you a better biller when you decide to switch back. The entry-level titles might be billing specialist, patient account representative, or accounts receivable clerk. Don't get hung up on the title. Your mission is to land a role where you can apply your certified knowledge. Once you're in, the real work begins. The first 2 to 3 years are your immersion phase. This is where you separate yourself from those who just see it as a job. Your goal is to become a sponge and then a linchpin. First, master the software. Every office has its own practice management and electronic health record system. Don't just learn how to use it. Become the power user. Be the person others come to with questions. Volunteer to learn the new update first. This makes you indispensable. Second, don't be a paper pusher. Be an investigator. When a claim is denied, your job isn't just to resubmit it. Your job is to understand why it was denied. Dig deep. Was it a simple data entry error? A problem with the patient's registration? A missing prior authorization? A coding mismatch? Trace the claim back to its origin. By understanding the root cause of denials, you don't just fix one claim. You help fix the process so that denial never happens again. This is how you go from being a cost center to a profit generator for the practice. Third, specialize. As you work, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe you find you have a knack for untangling complex surgical billing. Or perhaps you're brilliant at writing compelling appeal letters that get denied claims overturned. Lean into that. Become the go-to expert for appeals, or for cardiology billing, or for workers' compensation claims. Specialization is what builds your professional reputation and your earning power. After you've put in a few years and established yourself as a high performer, it's time to look at leveling up. This is the leadership and strategy phase. You've proven you can do the work. Now you're ready to manage the work. The first step is often a senior biller or team lead position. Here, you're not only handling the most difficult accounts but also mentoring junior staff, reviewing their work, and serving as the first point of escalation for problems. From there, the next logical jump is to billing manager or, on a larger scale, revenue cycle manager. This is a significant leap. You're now responsible for the performance of an entire department. Your world shifts from individual claims to high-level metrics. What's our days in A/R? What's our clean claim rate? What's our denial percentage? And what's the trend line over the last 6 months? You're analyzing data, creating strategies to improve cash flow, hiring and training staff, and reporting directly to the practice administrator or even the physicians. Your CPB knowledge is the foundation, but now you're building leadership, management, and financial analysis skills on top of it. But the path doesn't stop there. For those with a passion for rules and regulations, you can pivot into a role as a compliance officer. You use your deep understanding of billing regulations to ensure the entire organization is operating ethically and legally, conducting audits and training staff to prevent fraud and abuse. These roles are critically important and highly respected. Another avenue is consulting. Once you have a decade of experience across different specialties, you can become an independent consultant, hired by practices to come in, diagnose their revenue cycle problems, and implement solutions. You get to solve new puzzles all the time, and the pay can be exceptional. And that brings us to the final frontier: entrepreneurship. For some, this is the ultimate goal. After years of mastering the craft, managing teams, and understanding the business of healthcare, you decide to build your own. You start your own third-party medical billing company. You start small, maybe with a single local doctor's office that's struggling with their in-house billing. You leverage your expertise to provide them with a stellar service, increasing their collections and freeing them up to focus on patients. Your reputation grows. That one client tells another. You hire your first employee, someone just like you were, newly certified and eager to learn. Then you hire another. You invest in better technology. You develop streamlined processes. Before you know it, you're not just a biller. You're a business owner, a CEO, creating jobs and providing a critical service to the healthcare community. You have built an asset, something with real tangible value, all stemming from that one decision to get certified. This entire journey, from that first entry-level job to potentially owning your own company, is powered by a single principle: never stop learning. The healthcare industry is in a constant state of evolution. Codes change, regulations are updated, and technology advances. Your CPB certification isn't a one-and-done deal. Maintaining it through continuing education isn't a chore. It's your commitment to staying relevant and valuable. It's what ensures that your expertise never becomes obsolete. So as we close this out, I want you to zoom out and see the full picture. This isn't just about learning to process medical claims. It's about securing a key to a professional world that is stable, essential, and filled with opportunity. It's a career that rewards diligence, critical thinking, and a desire to solve problems. It can be a stable 9-to-5, a high-powered management role, or a launchpad for your own business. You have the complete blueprint. You know the what, the why, and the how. You understand the skills you need, the exam you'll take, and the career path that awaits you on the other side. The path is clear. The demand is real. All the information is right in front of you. The only variable left in the equation is you. Your decision. Your action. This is your opportunity to take control, to build a skill set that is recession-resistant, and to create a professional future on your own terms. The first step of that incredible journey is yours to take.